Pearl Harbor, the attack that united a nation. Introduction. Pearl Harbor stands as an indelible historical landmark, forever etched into the collective memory as the pivotal moment when the course of World War II was dramatically altered. This brazen act of aggression propelled the United States into a global conflict, igniting a wave of patriotic unity and determination as the nation rallied to confront the formidable challenges of war. The attack on Pearl Harbor, which occurred on December 7, 1941, was a watershed moment in American history, leading to a united front that would ultimately lead to the defeat of the Axis powers. The road to war. To understand the significance of the attack on Pearl Harbor, it is crucial to examine the events leading up to that fateful day. In the years preceding the attack, the world was gripped by the turmoil of World War II. The United States had managed to stay out of direct involvement in the conflict, but it was becoming increasingly clear that the nation could not remain isolated indefinitely. Rising tensions in Asia and Europe. In the late 1930s and early 1940s, tensions were escalating both in Asia and Europe. Adolf Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies in Europe had already plunged the continent into war, and Japan was aggressively pursuing its imperial ambitions in Asia. The United States had expressed concern over these developments, but was still hesitant to get directly involved. The United States response. The United States, under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, began to take measures to support the Allied powers without entering the conflict directly. The Lend-Lease Act of 1941, for example, provided military aid to countries fighting against Axis aggression. However, these actions did not sit well with Japan, which viewed them as a threat to its expansionist ambitions. The attack on Pearl Harbor. On the morning of December 7, 1941, without warning, Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The attack was swift and devastating, with Japanese bombers and fighters decimating the American Pacific Fleet. The loss was immense, with 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and almost 200 aircraft destroyed or severely damaged. Over 2,400 Americans lost their lives, and over 1,000 were wounded. The surprise attack. The audacity of the attack, coming without a formal declaration of war, left the United States stunned. The timing of the attack was particularly significant, as it occurred while diplomatic negotiations between the two nations were still ongoing. This blatant act of aggression would forever be etched in the memory of the American people. The immediate aftermath. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, the United States declared war on Japan, marking its entry into World War II. The shock and outrage felt by the American public were palpable, as they grappled with the reality of being thrust into a global conflict. President Roosevelt famously referred to December 7, 1941, as a date which will live in infamy in his address to Congress, galvanizing the nation's resolve to fight. 3. The United States mobilizes for war. The attack on Pearl Harbor had a profound and immediate impact on the United States. Overnight, the nation transitioned from a state of peace to one of total war. The attack not only unified the country but also set in motion a series of events that would shape the course of World War II. Mobilization of resources. The attack prompted a rapid mobilization of resources. Factories across the country shifted their production to support the war effort. From tanks and aircraft to ammunition and uniforms, American industry was geared towards supplying the military with the tools it needed to win the war. The role of propaganda. Propaganda played a vital role in galvanizing public support for the war. The government launched extensive campaigns aimed at boosting morale, encouraging enlistment, and promoting the purchase of war bonds. Iconic images and slogans, such as "Uncle Sam wants you" and "Rosie the Riveter," became symbols of American unity and determination. C. Rationing and sacrifice. To support the war effort, Americans on the home front had to make sacrifices. Rationing of essential goods like gasoline, rubber, and food became a common practice. Citizens were asked to conserve resources to ensure they were available for the military. These sacrifices were seen as a way for every American to contribute to the war effort. 4. The impact on civil liberties. While the attack on Pearl Harbor united the nation in its determination to win the war, it also had significant implications for civil liberties, particularly for Japanese Americans. In the wake of the attack, there was widespread fear and suspicion of anyone of Japanese descent living in the United States. A. Internment of Japanese Americans. One of the most controversial actions taken by the U.S. government was the forced internment of over 120,000 Japanese Americans, two-thirds of whom were native-born citizens. They were forcibly relocated to internment camps in remote areas of the country, where they endured harsh conditions and loss of personal property. B. The Korematsu case. The internment of Japanese Americans was challenged in the courts, leading to the landmark Supreme Court case of Korematsu v. United States. In a deeply troubling decision, the court upheld the constitutionality of the internment, arguing that it was a matter of military necessity. Decades later, this decision would be widely criticized as a violation of civil rights. V. The road to victory. Despite the challenges and controversies, the United States, along with its allies, pressed forward in the fight against the Axis powers. The attack on Pearl Harbor had ignited a fierce determination to win the war and protect the nation's freedoms. A. Allied collaboration. The United States forged strong alliances with other Allied powers, including the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union. The cooperation between these nations was essential in coordinating military strategies and resources. B. The Pacific Theater. In the Pacific Theater of World War II, the United States engaged in a series of hard-fought battles against Japan. The Battle of Midway in 1942 marked a turning point, where the United States inflicted significant losses on the Japanese fleet, weakening their ability to continue offensive operations. C. The European Theater. In the European Theater, Allied forces launched the D-Day invasion in 1944, a massive amphibious assault on the beaches of Normandy, France. This operation marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany and paved the way for the liberation of Europe. 6. The legacy of Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor left an indelible mark on the United States and the world. Its legacy can be examined from several perspectives. A. The end of isolationism. The attack shattered the United States' isolationist stance and thrust it into a leadership role on the world stage. The nation realized that it could no longer afford to remain detached from global affairs and had a responsibility to promote democracy and protect its interests abroad. B. The unity of the American people. The attack on Pearl Harbor united the American people in a way that few events in history have. It transcended political, racial, and regional divisions, with Americans from all walks of life coming together in a common cause. C. The cost of war. Pearl Harbor serves as a reminder of the high cost of war. The loss of life and resources in the attack and the subsequent conflict were staggering. It underscores the importance of diplomacy and international cooperation in preventing such catastrophic events. Conclusion. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a defining moment in American history, one that changed the course of World War II and the nation's role in the world. It united the American people in a way that few events could, galvanizing them to overcome the challenges of war. While it led to significant sacrifices and controversies, it also demonstrated the resilience and determination of the United States in the face of adversity. Pearl Harbor remains a symbol of both tragedy and triumph, a reminder of the enduring strength of a nation when united in a common purpose.